Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities.
Turnbuckles and Stogies. Yo, what is up? What is up? Yo, happy Sunday. Another Sunday with your favorite hostess with the mostest.
My dad, I'm doing a wrestling match. I looked at her and said, hey, I'm on to Brooklyn, you.
We're not in Brooklyn, sir. We're in upstate New York in Dutchess County. I'm originally from Yonkers. Hung out in the park.
I guess you guys don't know each other that well.
Oh, what is up? What is up? Happy Sunday, happy fun day. I am the big dog, the host with the most. He is the vanilla gorilla. He's making some coffee right now. You got to excuse us. It's been a long week. We're in the process of moving to a new facility. So you got to check it out. But yo, so we are live. Every streaming platform you could think of. StreamYard,
Roku,
Instagram,
Amazon,
Roku, Amazon,
Facebook,
YouTube,
Twitch.
iHeartRadio, Twitch, YouTube. We're on all streaming networks.
Which
we are the number one.
iHeart and everything updated this week.
iHeart and everything will be updated this week. So let me start by giving one of our sponsors a big thing. We got a night of pro wrestling, October 25th. For a night of pro wrestling live presented by PBPW and MBR. Come and cheer on the Freedom Fighting Champions and the support for our fundraiser partnership programming helping veterans and first responders. Joey will do the QR code. But that's in Colorado. So make sure y'all come and cheer on the champions. I'm sorry, there's not really any good champions there because the Untouchables.
Cheer on MB Radio and
cheer on MB Radio, but there's no real champions there because me and my son are sitting here, so that ain't happening. So, guys, let's talk about one thing right now. Let's talk about the Giants today. Do I think they're gonna win? They're starting Jackson Dart. So we'll figure it out. But, you know, let's talk about wrestling when the man showed up. He's been gone for 6 months.
At All Out.
He's been, no, not him. He's been gone for 6 months. My man Jacob Fatu.
He's been gone 6 months?
Yes, showed up on SmackDown. Basically told basically told Drew McIntyre, I'm the fucking boss.
Whoa. We got.
Oh, sorry. My bad. Said, I'm the boss. You ain't got nothing. And he said, well, I'm Drew McIntyre. He goes, and that's very nice that you're Drew McIntyre. And then he gave him a Glasgow kick. He hit the ropes and he looked back and he goes, is that all you got? So, needless to say, we're going to cut right into my brother.
Go ahead.
We're going to cut right into it with my brother from Hawaii, the Metal Maniac, a legend in the wrestling world.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
What is up?
Here he
What
is.
is up, brother?
Wow, brother, you guys are nationwide, international. If you got Jersey Mike's backing you up, because they got what they call the Maniac Sandwich. And it's got everything under the sun. You didn't know about it yet, but it's going to happen. That's right. It's the Metal Maniac, the greatest ever, coming to you live from the pinnacle of professional wrestling, the Hawaiian Islands, where really the bloodline and all started right here. Long time ago with Chief Peter Maivia, and I'm here. I came through this door, and when you're talking about Jacob, I never met Jacob, but we know, obviously I know his father, I know his uncles, I know all his cousins. So if I seen him, I'd be giving him a big hug and sit down and get some good food immediately. So we're down here in Hawaii. Now, don't fool yourself, ladies and gentlemen. I showed the face today because I'm at a special location that I can't be who I really am.
An undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location. But in the meantime, I put the hair up. I saw him a little bit. I look neat, but don't mess it up or get it twisted. The Maniac is still the Maniac. At any time, I could just break out the cape.
There you go.
There we are.
So, Jeff, the Metal Maniac.
Metal Maniac.
So, tell us when you got into business and how you got into business.
Oh, this is easy. So, I was a professional musician in New Jersey, and I was playing in studio work and got a record deal. And friends of mine, we wrote some songs, got a record deal. Next thing you know, we find out that a management company had the singer, and he didn't tell us he had a management contract. They wouldn't let him out. So I was so aggravated. I go on a vacation to Florida, and I met Peter Maivia's nephew, had the tattoo. His name was Siva Afi. In the original Islanders, it was Haku and Siva Afi. He's the guy that they tried to use as Superfly Afi instead of Superfly Snuka when Jimmy first left the first time, a long time ago. And it really kind of messed him up. So he went and got the Peter Maivia tattoo, came back. They wanted him to lose to the Ultimate Warrior, and he's like, I can't lose to the Ultimate Warrior. This is back when people believed. And like people in Samoa, they see this tattoo. I can't lose to this guy on TV. No way. I can't do it like that. It's got to be a screw job. It can't be his gorilla press. There's just no way. And so Vince was like, didn't care. And so he walked out, which was probably not a good thing, but that's what he did. And he went to work for Burt Reynolds doing stunts and bodyguard work. The next thing you know, I met him in Boynton Beach, Florida, at a bar, and he was living there. And we found a ring, and then sometimes he would take me down to the beach and just slam me on the beach, and that's how I started. And then he said, "Hey, I'm moving back to Hawaii. I'm going to raise my son over there. And, why don't you come down?" And as soon as I heard Hawaii, I already was enamored with Hawaii from when I was a kid. So I sold all my musical equipment except for a couple of a bass guitar and an acoustic guitar, an electric keyboard. I kept that, but everything else I had everything, every PA system you could possibly get. I used to rent the Joan Jett for her concerts. So I sold it to her and came down here and met Leah Maivia. She had some shows and she had a little TV show. And that's where I started my painting my face and got my character together and figured out how to lock up and how to take an arm drag. And I mean, shit, my gimmick, I don't even do wrestling. I just do thumb to the throat and talk on the mic and, you know, put people over. Everybody wants to work with me because I get my heat. I put people over. They can't kill me. I was fine with that. And I did good. And then, I'm down here and I had my first match with Farmer Boy Ipo and a couple of other guys on Maui. And the next thing you know, Jimmy Snuka was down here and Siva said, hey, we're going to go see Jimmy. So we went and hung out with Jimmy. And then I got Muraco said, oh, why don't you, call this guy or call that guy because you really need to get off the island if you're going to do anything because there's one show a year, 2 shows a year. You probably need to go somewhere where there's a lot of shows because that's the only way you're going to learn. It's not practice. You could practice all day, tackle, drop down, hip toss, arm drag. But like I said, I learned it, but I never used it ever. I mean, only when I was told to by somebody who was higher up the food chain. So if Jimmy said tackle, drop down, leapfrog, double chop, well, I went and did it. But normally that wasn't my thing. So next thing you know, we made some phone calls and Jimmy was there and he goes, hey, brother, to Tommy D and what's his name? Todd Gordon. This is when Todd Gordon first bought it from Joel Goodhart. And I spoke to Ed Zahn out of Maryland and Sylvana Souza, who was like a jobber for the Saturday morning guys, years ago. And he was a hot dog and coffee guy. He was a coffee and donuts guy, but he was like a little mini agent. And he had shows and what do you call it? Obviously, NWA New Jersey. What was shame on me I'm so tired. Larry Sharp and Dennis Corluzzo. And Dennis Corluzzo had shows, and I should be ashamed. I was very close with Dennis. My brain is shot. And so I got booked, and that first night I came in. I was at Tommy D's show before I went to ECW, and Tommy D shows Jimmy a picture of me in my gear, and Jimmy never saw me in my gear. He said, hey, do you know this guy from Hawaii? He goes, no. But when I came through the door, he's like, hey, brother, how you doing? He goes, bro, I just asked you if you know this guy. You said no. He says, well, I don't know him like that, but I know him like that. So I'm working with Hillbilly Cousin Luke, and I'm having a good time. And I did something where you jump across somebody's back once. You do it twice, and the third time you take a ball shot from the rope.
Yes.
So I do that, but his rings had that 2-foot extension instead of it being 6 or 8 inches. It had like 2 feet to stick out, and I banged my knee, and I'm like, oh shit! I got all these bookings. What am I gonna do? So when he shoots me off, I said, go home. So he gives me his big clothes on, and he falls on me. 1, 2, 3. So after, Jimmy said to me, hey, brother, listen, I'm staying at the hotel over here. Come hang out, and we'll get something to eat and stuff. I said, okay. So I did. And he said to me, brother, man, you've been in the business a few years now, and you should have known. Just go outside and fight all the way, all the way back. You had family in the audience and everything, and I said, well, I would have, but I didn't know that. And he said, yeah, but how do you not know? You've been in the business long enough. And I go, Jimmy, I only been in the business for a week.
Right.
And he goes, what? I said, yeah, I mean, I was out in Hawaii 6 months, but I only had one show down there with Farmer Boy Ipo. Then yesterday today with Cousin Luke, and now tomorrow I'm supposed to be with you. And he was like, who taught you how to hit once and stand there and flex and walk around? And who taught you how to do that and stay calm? I go, well, you're watching you and Muraco and Superstar. As a kid, I used to watch wrestling, so that's what they did. So I just kind of mimicking what you guys all did. I mean, I can't do what you do, but the things I was able to pick up on, I wrote down and put in my head, and then I just started doing them. And he goes, yeah, okay, come on. I was like, really? Yeah. He goes, bruh, you trying to fool me? I'm like, what? No, I'm telling you, I just started. And he's like, wow, you really fooled me. He goes, now I gotta help you. He goes, he gives me this piece of paper. He goes, call this number. So I call this number, and he says, the name of the guy is on the paper. So it says Savoldi. I didn't know who that was. So I said, So I said, can I speak to Mr. Savoldi? Yeah, who's calling? I said, well, I'm sitting here with Jimmy Snuka, and he'd like to talk to Mr. Savoldi. Oh, hold on 1 second. All right, Mr. Savoldi, hold on. I'll put you on with Jimmy. Okay, fine. So this is the conversation. You ready? We're in Philadelphia at ECW because it's the night before the show. We both drove down there. So Jimmy's riding with me because I got a car in New Jersey because my mother lived there, and I left a car there for me to use when I come in. So we get there, and he grabs the phone, and he goes, Savoldi, Snuka, I got this kid. Looks good, sounds good. Put him with me on all five. All five. He's going to take me to the gym. He's going to take me here and there. And he's going to work with me all 5 nights. And he says, and this was at the Poconos. He used to run the Pocono Mountains up there.
Right.
The Jewish retreat. So he said, okay, no problem. And he hung up the phone, and he looked at me, and he was wearing those Burt Reynolds glasses, and he went like this. He went, picture Jimmy, and he went like this. He went, whoa. Whoa. Because I never did that for anybody, but I did it for you.
If I didn't know Jimmy, I would say you're lying. But I knew Jimmy. I met Jimmy, and what you're seeing is what he's telling you is all true.
It's true. It's absolutely true. So then that was pretty much it. I mean, I had bookings, and there was a handful that were there, and then the next thing you know, those 5 went in, and then all of a sudden, the hillbilly Cousin Luke, he took a liking to me, and he had shows, and he's like, hey, I got a show here, I got a show there, I want to use you on it. And back then, they'd pay you 100, 150, 125, 100. Jimmy insisted on 150, which is great because he was talking for me, and I didn't know that kids today, they work for free and they pay for their own gas, their own
or the infamous.
It's Tommy D heaven out there. If he would have known that, he would have stuck around another 20 years. Because when you were going to work for Tommy D and he didn't have the money, this is what he would do. Oh.
Yes, correct.
He would never look at you. He wouldn't look at you. His baseball cap, he would go like this, and he'd keep his cap. He'd keep his cap just like this, like, give you the one eye, like just a little bit. And so what I would do is to get my money, I would go out at halftime where he sold gimmicks, and I'd go out at halftime, and he'd give me $150 all in ones. All in ones. I go, what is this? He goes, you're a Jewish kid. You know what a Jewish bankroll looks like. I was like, I said, okay, no problem. But I got my pay, you know. So then that's how it started. And next thing you know, he told me, hey, we're going overseas. I'm like, really? Where are we going? He goes, oh, you know, we're going to go to two military bases in England, and I see 2 in Germany, 2 in Italy, 1 in Greece or Crete or wherever. And just Jimmy knew his way around islands and stuff and knew names, but he couldn't read or write. But he knew. But I didn't know he couldn't read or write back then. And he just said, listen, I'll pick me up at the airport, and you know, we'll go to the other airport, because Newark Airport was one thing, but international at that time, you would go to JFK. You know, as an internet, Newark wasn't an international hub just yet. Now it obviously is, but back then TWA was still flying, and that's before your son was
Remember
born.
TWA, Trans World Airlines?
Yeah, TWA. And they had 747s, and we used to walk up the spiral staircase and sit up behind the captain in the cockpit. It was like we had our own like little, you know, area there, so nobody would bother Jimmy. And it was great, because once that happened, TWA, every time I went to the airport to fly somewhere, even if I had a frequent flyer, they would plug in the frequent flyer as if it was a regular ticket. So I was getting flyer after flyer after flyer, and I'd come back and forth to Hawaii for the first 3-4 years that I was working. I kept coming back every 6 weeks for 2 weeks, and keep, just to keep working out hard in the tan and all that shit. It was great, so that's how it actually started. And then from there, it just snowballed. I mean, his work was my work. And one day we were in Philadelphia, and his ex-wife used to work as a not for the airlines, but she was like a tour director, like in an office, and she would get tickets and get Jimmy on like the free ticket, but you'd have to wait to get on. He never liked that. He didn't understand. They were paying the money for the ticket. Why not just put me in a seat? He didn't like around the airports, but he did. And then he saw me doing mine. He goes, brother, you got a seat? I go, yeah, why? He goes, well, my wife works for the tour company, and she can never get me a seat. She always got me on standby. I said, well, they could at least put you on the plane first, because you're a famous guy. You could be riding a big plane that puts you upstairs.
Right.
See, I know. I don't understand. I said, well, I don't know. And then that's where it kind of started with him thinking about watching me do all my book work and writing down stuff. Like, Muraco said, look, if you're going to do this, you got to keep a diary, because for taxes, you got to know where you were, save a piece of paper or a poster or something that you could put in, or fold it up and staple it. And any receipts you have, you're going to want to, especially if you got to get paid by a check. He said, but you shouldn't be paid by a check, and then he told me how to, to keep your books together. So he saw all this going on. And that's where one day he calls me up, and I had a pager so he could reach me right away.
Yeah,
one of those pagers that said you could call and it'd say, hi, you've reached Jeff. What's your message? And he would say, call 007. Thank you. and that's 007. That's why in my phone I put it in as 007, because I didn't want to put in Jimmy Snuka's name and somebody steals my phone. And it was a flip phone, you see Jimmy Snuka, what the hell? 007, that made sense, So, and then I would call him back. He's like, brother, you got to come over and see me when I fly in tomorrow. I said, yeah, I'm picking you up. He goes, we got to talk. I'm like, oh, oh shit, I must have done something wrong, you know. And then, you know, Jimmy was like Tarzan out of New York. You know, he gets off the plane. He's got this tiger outfit. He got the tiger headband. He got tiger. He got slippers. And it's freezing out. You know, it's friggin' October, and he's got his toes out. You know, with the slip. So you know, Jimmy was. You know,
My wife is laughing.
it's true, absolutely true. So he said, brother, man, let's go up by those mountains where we drive through the mountains and hang out. We'll have some lunch there. So I grabbed some food. We go up there and he goes, bro, look, man. He's like, this is what I want you to do. I want you to call everybody and tell them your pager is the only number they can reach me at. And if anybody gives you a problem, put me on the phone and I'll tell them, hey, if you want me, it's here. I didn't know what was going on. I just kind of knew that Jimmy had said he didn't tell me he was getting divorced or anything. He just said that he wanted me to do the bookings, and now I was in control of the bookings, so I better be ready. And I was, it was like swallowing a grand piano. This all happened in 1 year.
It's like
When you first come into business, you don't get an opportunity like that. Who gets opportunities like that? Tell me. I mean, there's guys that have been helped out by other guys, but I don't know how many people get that kind of help.
So I told Joey, I said, listen, you don't understand. If you book Jimmy, you always book the Metal Maniac.
Well, he ain't coming without me.
I said, he ain't going nowhere without Metal Maniac. I said, they can do 5 shows a week, and it's the best shows I've ever seen.
You're the only one that thinks that. Everybody else says, Muraco would say, yeah, Snuka taught you how to be his little monkey. Boop, 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 boop. I was like, what do you mean? Because he's got you doing everything and doing the thing and his sequences and all that, but you're not. He would knock me all the time. He would say, you're not doing you. You're doing what he's doing so he can do his thing. But you're just a little monkey right now.
Yeah, but you know what? Did it pay out for you?
I didn't get to go across to the water, but I mean, I did try. I did have a lot of, dark matches later on, like in the late 90s, 97, 98, I had dark matches, but they never, I'll never forget it. I mean, I'm jumping forward, but a lot happened by then, but by 97, 98, and even then in 2001, at one point, Vince McMahon came up to me. He goes, kid, they smartened you up too much. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, between King Curtis and Jimmy and Muraco and all them guys telling you the way it really is, the business isn't like that anymore. And these young guys, they'll come out, they take a $50,000 a year. I go, yeah, but I got to pay tax in the state that I earn and in the state that I live. And so if you do 50 states and I take a $50 draw every day for food, I owe the I owe the federal government probably, 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand. What kind of deal is that? He goes, oh, you don't know. You got to eat, you got to eat tuna fish and water. And that's how you get along. That's how you stay in shape. And that's how you learn. I'm like, yeah, but why would I do that when I'm working with Jimmy and I'm in the main event every night? None of your guys will do what he does. I said, he's still prime time. Have you seen Jimmy lately? I said, he got abs. He didn't get fat. This Jimmy was still, until 2000, I don't know, 10 to 2008, Jimmy was in shape.
Jimmy had abs, bro. And I mean,
endless.
This dude was so cut. Like, I'm 56 years old. And let me tell you, if I had abs like Jimmy had at his age, shit.
Even when he first started with ECW and he was their champion, and they went extreme, and he started, doing all the eyeballs like craziness and all that stuff. He went from being super huge and cut just to being freaky cut like a Frank Zane. A lot of people don't know who Frank Zane is. Go look him up. Fantastic body, and instead of being like 280, he was like 228, 232, and he had abs, and his arms had this. He snapped his triceps, so his biceps would look even bigger, and his arms looked like a fly, like the movie. So that's how he looked, and it was an amazing. He was a freak. I mean, and plus he had timing.
We got to take a commercial break. Hold on to that thought.
Oh, hold on to it. Hold on to it. I'm holding it. You go to commercial.
I'll be right back.
I'll be right back. I'm going to run down the hall. I'll be right back.
Take a moment, take your time, let it set right. Let it drive right down in your conscious tight. Lean into the better times. 'Cause in a minute, in a moment, you'll notice a shining light. One that draws you in from deep inside. Reach out and connect tonight. Trails that lead us to and through, elevate to new. 'Cause there's a second, there's a session, there's something that holds them tight. Let you see this world through brand new eyes. Reach out and connect tonight. You know my name. What colors do you see?
And we're back.
Won't you smoke a stogie? Yeah, I'm with this one, not that one. This one.
This one. Right here, this one.
That one, the other one, whatever, which one. I got to behave myself now. I'm a gentleman.
Wait. You did not just say you're a gentleman.
I try to be.
I mean, you know, listen, I'll never forget, Jeff, the day that
You don't have to yell though. 'cause
my
you have
mother-in-law, we did a show. I forget where it was, but it was you and Snuka. And my mother-in-law seen you in the back, and she goes, I like that guy. He's got a great gimmick. And I said, what do you know about gimmicks? She goes, I like the way he dresses. I like his face mask and all that other stuff. Bro, God rest her soul. Jeff, she loved you to death.
I
And
appreciate you telling me
my
that.
wife is here, and my mother-in-law loved you to death. She was like, have you heard from Jeff? And I'm like, do you want something going on with Jeff? I mean, I'm just asking for a friend. I'm asking for a friend. Like, do you want? She goes, no. I said, yeah.
Yeah. Back then, I was handsome. Now, forget it. I look like a boat hit me in the head. I look like them guys in that speedboat that got blown up. What happened?
I can't.
What happened?
I can't with him.
I give up.
So tell us your very first match that you ever had.
Well, like I said, I was on Maui. Auntie Leah Maivia was running the show, and believe it or not, I mean, you know, it was cool. I worked with Farmer Boy Ipo, and then the next night, we were on the other side of the island, and they had Super Sakalia, who was a Samoan guy, and Ipo. No, Sakalia was my partner, and if you ever talk to the great Samu, he'll tell you he knows these names. And Farmer Boy Ipo, he was in the old WWF mid-card guy when King Curtis was there, and Rocky Johnson was there, and then his nephew, I forget that kid's name, but he put my leg into this hold, and they were going to break my leg. They were going to break my leg because they didn't know I was with Siva. They just, you know, so they're like, oh, we're going to teach this kid a lesson. So they hooked me, and all of a sudden the tag somehow he hits him. Now the referee comes to push him out. Now it's time for Ipo to get in and you know, push the kid back into an arch, but he wasn't gonna. He was just gonna snap it. But lucky, I seen something going on behind me, so I'm looking, and I just turned my body and didn't break my leg or nothing. So after the show, Muraco had said to me, "Hey, they tried to do you in, you know." I said, "Yeah, I think something. I did something." They go, "No, you didn't do nothing. They just, you know, they was going to teach you a lesson because you know you're new." And I said, "Oh well, you know," but it didn't work. And then the next day, you know, they saw me with Siva and stuff, and then they came over, and then they were nice to me and talking to me and stuff. But I knew, you know.
Right.
But, you know, I put it this way. After that, I never seen them guys. I mean, I seen them once maybe on the beach, but I never seen them again in a ring because I was busy. Well, yeah, those guys were already, you know, they were gone already. And, you know, and plus, I mean, when there was another guy, Tui was his name, and he called himself, Tui, Tui, and he called himself Superfly Tui, except that his
Whoa.
feet were nailed into the ground with a Hilti gun.
So it
I don't
should
know
have
if
been. It should have
I
been
don't know if you
super suck.
I don't know if you know what a Hilti gun is. You know what a Hilti gun
Yes.
is? Well, for
Yes.
people that don't
Yo,
know,
he's-
it's where how you drive a nail through concrete.
Yes.
And, you know, it's like a gun. You put it down and bang. You know, and it's like a
And
little
then you just
explosion.
get a big and
he
that's it.
said his feet were nailed.
That's crazy.
So I was like, so I seen him, Tuiga Saliga, how are you? He goes, hey, how's the Superfly? I said, flying high, but I'm still looking at your feet. You're still walking around with cement blocks on your feet. And he was like, oh, you shut up. He called himself Superfly. I told that to Jimmy. He goes, yeah, I know who he is. He wasn't a Superfly until I became a Superfly. And
Yeah,
all
he
of a
doesn't
sudden,
leave the ground. Don't worry, he's not going to compete.
yeah. But the
He
thing
said
was,
your
is, you know,
feet are like cement blocks.
yeah, he's still walking around. And do you guys know the story of how the name Superfly came about? Do you know?
No, actually, I don't
Not
think I've
because of
ever.
this. Well, what happened was Jimmy saw that movie, you know, with that song Superfly.
Right.
All right, and then he loved the Cadillacs with the curb feelers and stuff on it,
Right.
you know, because that's big time in Hawaii, you know, low riders and all that stuff. He loved, but it wasn't a low rider, but it was big Cadillacs. And Jimmy used to be a cliff diver, so he asked Shiki if he would just lay down and sit up a little bit and just catch him. And Shiki said, sure, no problem. So he did it, and he started to do it up in Portland. Then when he got down to the Carolinas, he changed his name because he didn't use snuka yet. He was called the Great Fijian, and he was doing a what do you call it? A full Nelson. And Jimmy Jimmy was Mr. Hawaii. He had a 23-inch arm, 22.5-inch arm. He was fucking massive. Oh, excuse me. Children, sorry. He was massive. You know, he was massive. So what happened was then he gets down to the Carolinas, and then goes into the Minnesota, and then they so Muraco gave him a name, Lonnie Kealoha. But that's like a lady's name, Lonnie.
Right.
You know, so he's like, he didn't like that. And so then, you know, Jimmy used to play pool, that snooker pool, you know, where, you know, the little bumper pool, but it's also called snooker.
Yep.
So he said, I'm going to call myself Superfly Jimmy Snooker. And then somebody said, you know, not many people know that name, Snooker. They really don't, but Snuka sounds better. It sounds easier to pronounce. So he said, okay, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, okay. And that's kind of how it went. And he kept doing the splash on the sheet. But I saw this one video where Jimmy hasn't perfected it 1,000% yet. And he did it on Flair. But what he did was, instead of letting Flair kick out, he splashed him. And when he splashed him, he hit the ground and flew back up onto his feet.
You know what, Jeff? So my wife went to a wrestling event, and she's here. Man, the wrestling event you went to was with Jimmy Snuka, right? In the garden? Yes. It was Jimmy Snuka. Come over here and tell them the story. She went to the event.
Oh, you talking about the cage match?
It was Don Muraco and Jimmy Snuka in Madison Square Garden.
In a cage match.
Was it a cage match, babe? She said the crowd was wild. It was the best thing ever. But you know what? So Jeff, so when I met my wife, I started training with Alpha. And I'll never forget it because when I got there, he goes, your trainer's not here yet. Next thing I know, here comes Billy Kidman. So Billy Kidman comes in and I take the bump and whatever. Next thing I know, we're driving home. We get home on Sunday. And who's on Sunday night's main event for WCW?
That was Nitro on Monday.
Billy Kidman.
Sure. He was very talented.
Kidding me?
He was very talented.
Oh, my wife said they knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy that got tickets for this show.
Right. Hey,
right.
That's how it was. That's how it was back then.
I pulled up some pictures that you had sent us.
Yeah, over the years.
There's a few of them that I found. Well, these are some that I just pulled up, but you have, and I'm gonna try to see if I can do this.
Most of what you're seeing came off of my Facebook page, the Metal Maniac fan page. So that's what you're looking at. So like anything online that you're finding is all from that.
You and Hercules.
Oh, well, that was my own personal stash of Polaroids with guys.
Polaroids, holy shit!
What you're looking at is a snapshot from a phone of a Polaroid that I have. I have books of Polaroids.
It's in a blue book.
And then
I got
this one.
It's in a.
I can't see. I'm not seeing any photos. I'm not seeing any photos.
Hold on. Let me take.
It's in the bedroom. If you want to look,
let me put this up. See if you'll see it now.
Got too many stogies. That's me. That's me. I could see me. Only me, not you. Not just me, brother. Daddy, brother.
So you have me and you, and then this one that I just put up.
Nobody's seeing that. They're just seeing us, me and you. They're not seeing anything that you're
How the
posting.
fuck is that working?
Let me see. Let me check this. Let me check the stream and see, because it might just be StreamYard that we're not seeing. Babe. So I'm seeing it on my screen.
Okay, so it is up. Okay, good. Yeah, so that's Taz. You're looking at Taz before Taz. Before Taz. Right, that's when he was. Well, yeah, they called him the Tasmaniac, but yeah.
And that was in what? That was in Philly.
That was in New York, in the Bronx, for Tommy D, and Tony Rumble was the booker.
Oh yeah. Wow, Tony Rumble was the booker. I didn't know that.
And nobody realizes that Taz trained at Pete McKay's gym.
Yeah,
you know what? So Jeff, when I came back to New York from Dallas after I started training in Dallas with Chris Adams, I came back to New York. I started training in Pete McKay's gym.
Right here.
I started training there, and people don't realize that I trained with Johnny Rods. I trained with Pete McKay. So when Lou Albano passed, we went to the funeral. So who was there? Johnny Rods, Jimmy Snuka.
Sure.
And they're like, "Hey, big dog, what's up?" I said, "Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing? You know, whatever." And they go, "Who's this?" I said, "That's my son."
So this is where I say everything you say about Jimmy is Jimmy all the time, because I met Jimmy that night. First time he introduced me to him, and we were talking, and he said to me, he goes, "Do you want to be a wrestler?" I said, "Of course, yeah, absolutely." And then he looks at me and he goes, "Brother,
you know it, bro."
He goes, "Brother, when you finish college and you graduate," he goes, "you come see Uncle Jimmy." He goes, "Uncle Jimmy takes care of you. Uncle Jimmy trained you." I went, "Oh boy." I was like, man, I already knew as a kid. I'm like, I know how this is gonna go,
And
like
then
it's gonna be a long,
Jeff,
process.
and then Johnny Rods came out and he gave me a hug, and we were talking.
That blew my mind.
And
all the people
my
I met.
son looked at me, and here's the funny part. So we're sitting on the couch. You know, when you go to funeral parlor, they have the couch, right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting on a couch. So Pops comes in.
But you don't gotta yell though.
Pops comes in. So I said, Joey, get up. He goes, what do you mean? I said, get up and let Pops sit. He goes, what do you mean? I said, get up.
I didn't know who this was at all. I had no idea who that was.
No idea who it was.
You might want to sharpen your pencil pretty quick. Pops have been known to grab people by their face and lift them off the ground.
So
night I sharpened a lot of pencils.
So
him and
Sika came in, I stood up, I gave him a hug. You know how you kiss on the cheek, whatever. So I gave him a hug and a kiss. I said to my son, get up and let Pops sit. He goes, no, son, it's okay, son. I said, Pops, this is your seat, not mine. I said, I'm younger than you. He goes, excuse me? I said, I'm sorry, Pops. Just have a seat.
And then he told me, he goes, you don't know who that is? I said, who is that? He goes, and he tells me, he goes, Joe, get up. That's Alpha. I got up. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, I apologize. I was like, please have my seat. I was like, I'll go stand over here. No problem. I was like,
and you know, Jeff, the funny thing was, Lou managed me like 3 or 4 times.
He was a nice man.
Oh my God,
Lou managed me 3 or 4 times.
Sweetheart.
And when I went to the wake, his son and his daughter came to me and said, you're Big Dog. I said, yes. They go, my dad used to talk about you all the time. I said, what do you mean? They said, because he managed you. I said, yes, he did 3 times. And they go, oh, so tell them about the story when you were in the Southwest Mall.
I had met Lou a few times as a kid. And at that point, Lou had kind of, you know, by this point, I think this was my second time meeting him.
No,
and my mom was with me, and I said to him, you know, my dad, he was working. He was in White Plains. White Plains to where we are is an hour. That's going to come in.
I know where White Plains is.
Yeah. That's going to come into the story. It's going to come into the story in a few seconds. I go up. I go to Lou. He goes to, hey, how you doing, my head? How are you, sir? How are you? Can I have a picture? Yeah, take the goddamn picture. Take a picture. Oh, okay, no problem. I go, you know my dad. Who's your dad? I'm like, Big Dog. Big Dog? Where's that fat? Where is it? Why is he not here? Where is he? I said he's working. Lou, he goes, get him on the fucking phone. We need to talk to him right now. I call him. I'm like, Dad, somebody wants to talk to you.
And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. I said, hold on. I hand him the phone. He goes, Dog, you fat son of a bitch. Where are you? You should fucking be here. You should be fucking sitting next to me. I'm fucking in your house. Where are you? And he's screaming and there's kids around. The guy goes, Lou, you got to be quiet. Fuck you. I don't have to be quiet. I'm like, whoa. Dude, he brings me behind the table. He goes, you sit here now. I was like, okay. I went and met AJ Styles and everybody else. He goes, now you sit here. I said, okay. The guy goes, he can't sit there. He goes, yes, the fuck he can. I fucking said he can. Don't fuck about. I'm like, whoa. Whoa, he goes, that's my fucking nephew. You fucking leave him alone. He fucking, okay, yes, sir. No problem.
Jeff,
he started going.
I'm sitting at the table like this. Yep.
It's in the bedroom.
Yep. He made it from White Plains to Poughkeepsie in 25 minutes.
So, Jeff.
Sure, because you drive 110 miles an hour.
That's exactly what he was doing. He drove 110 the whole way there. And he had to come upstairs to meet us.
You can vouch that the wrestling world is a fraternity. Like, you know, you and I have
like no other.
You and I have met on several occasions. And, you know, people don't realize that the wrestling world is a fraternity. You're either liked or you're not liked. Like me and Bubba Ray. Me and Bubba had a whole fucking, like, go fuck yourself.
If you could see the face on the other side of this camera right now, That face would say it all.
Bro, Bubba Ray came to the Mid-Hudson Civic Center, and I'm sitting in the front row, right? All of a sudden, Bubba Ray comes out, starts this chant, and you hear, big dog, big dog, big dog. Now, mind you, I'm just sitting there minding my business.
I know it's coming next.
Yeah, I'm
Hold on.
It's coming next.
Hold on.
Your business if it was your fucking job, bro.
And I'm sure after that, you know how the rest of this story goes.
So mind you, the next night,
receipt for receipt for a little while.
So the next night, I show up to LIWF where I was training over there too with Homicide and Loki and all them guys, right? So I show up there. My wife comes, my brother comes, my nephew comes, everybody comes there, right? So mind you, I'm in the ring with Primo.
Mind you, this little boy was ready to come out like within 2 days. This little boy.
This little motherfucker.
This monstrosity of a human being now.
This little boy was still in my
Look at Jeff. Now look at Jeff's face.
He's just smiling away.
Look.
He knows how this story goes.
So mind you, Jeff, I'm at LIWF, right? So I'm fighting Primo. Primo is Bubba's friend. Bubba's in the crowd. Now, mind you, he comes and he's like, you know how he looks, and Primo and Bubba goes like this. I said, Primo, you got a better chance in hell taking me out than you got with Bubba. He goes, what do you mean? I said, bro, I'm from the streets, bro. If you want to get real, we can get real. Let's get real. Bro, we got real. And when I tell you we got real, the whole locker room came out to break us up. And I said to Bubba, Bubba, if your man 6'10" couldn't take care of me, what makes you think that you're gonna take care of me? I said, what makes you think you're gonna take care of me? Yo, so he did an autograph signing up here in Poughkeepsie.
No, it wasn't an autograph signing. He was working. It was in Danbury when Mike O'Brien brought in a big.
But by this time, Bubba had made it. I remember Bubba when the Dudleys first were created, and he was like number 7 or 8, and they didn't think he was going to amount to anything, and he ended up with the very last one. The brother, the two of them, they actually took it forward. And the one kid with the worm thing. Other than that, I mean, that whole team of guys really.
Devon used to work for the post office.
Yeah.
So Devon is a friend of mine through another friend of mine that used to work for the post office. And when Paul Heyman called him and said, we want you to come out here, you got to get a tie-dye shirt. What these two knuckleheads did, they bleached the shirt. They bleached it. So when they got there, Devon put it on and it fell apart. And they go, what the fuck is that smell? Guess what it was? It was bleach.
Yeah, right.
It fell apart on him.
It's because that's how much he put a whole bottle of bleach and didn't know what he was doing. So, he didn't put the rubber on it. I know. I know what you're talking about.
So what was it like working for ECW in those very early days?
Well, first of all, when it first started off, it was Eastern Championship Wrestling.
Right.
So it was pretty straightforward. You know, you saw who you were working with, who the referee was. You know, I worked.
You got Pee-wee. Remember Pee-wee?
The name's familiar, but you got to show me faces. Names, I'm not really so good with, because everybody's brother. Hey, brother. Hey, brother. Hey, you know,
Brother, daddy, daddy, brother.
daddy, brother. You know, I mean, but this is way back when it was just brother only. I hadn't
Yes,
created the
yes.
chubby dummies yet. I didn't do all that yet.
Right.
And so, you know, I, like I said, I started there with him, and then it was pretty straightforward, you know, and then it kept getting bigger and bigger. They had some Japanese guys come, and they made a show with nobody in the crowd, just them. And I worked with Tony Stetson, and I mean, the first time I took a chair was from Tony Stetson. What a beautiful chair shot. I mean, wow. I mean, it knocked me on my ass, but didn't hurt me. Sounded great. I mean, but that was like one of the few times I let anybody, but that was the first time. So I figured out how bad could it be?
Right.
It was, I mean, looking back at it now, it wasn't bad at all, but holy shit, it knocked me down. I mean, boom. You know, I was
It
like,
puts you down because you don't expect it, and it's like, whoa.
yeah, you know, but you know, it was you know, they did stuff to rid me, like said, listen, we want you to wait under the ring the whole show, get under there before we open the doors. And they didn't tell me, look, you know, this ring could collapse, so be careful, stay by the corner, you know, stay by the corner. They didn't tell me that. And so I'm under the ring. I got my cigarettes. I'm laying down. I got beer. I got everything under the ring. And I came out, and at the right time, the referee was outside the ring for some reason. Then I slipped in, boom, hit what's his name, the guy that was friends with.
Yo, you forgot his name, dog? Seriously?
I forgot his name because, bro, it's just so long ago. You're talking 1990. 90, 91.
90, 91,
91. Yeah, but it's way back. And then I forget his name. Nice kid, black kid. He used to have a nice, really nice gear. He was Todd Gordon's friend, and he worked in the jewelry shop with him. Well, whatever. So you know, he said, you know, he says, watch the boot. I watched it, kicked me right in the nose, and broke my nose. But you know, it was good. It was a good learning experience, and I got friendly with the pit bulls, and Johnny Hotbody, and those guys. You know that crew there. Sandman. Oh, those guys were pretty. You know, they were pretty cool with me, and I got really close to Gary and Anthony. They really, really tried to help me out, you know, and Flash and a few other kids that were really good people. The rest were just people I didn't know, you know. What was that one guy? He ended up killing himself. He's a real hard ass ECW guy, original ECW guy. I forget his name. Another one I forget, but he ended up shooting himself.
His brother wrestled. Jesus Christmas. Rotten.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Rotten.
No. You talk about Ian Rotten and no.
Still around.
Ian Rotten was a piece of shit. He knows he's a piece of shit. I've seen him on videos saying, I know, I'm a piece of shit, but I'm drawing money over here. I don't give a shit what you guys have to say. But let me tell you a funny story about Axel Rotten. Axel Rotten was a sweetheart. So I work with Ian Rotten. Wait a minute. I just pushed the button. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me just pull you back up. Hold on one second. Whoa. Hey. Whoa. Wait.
Hey, how you doing?
All right. I got you. So it's like my fifth match. And I go to Maryland. And it's for Ed Zahn or Dennis Whipwreck. And I'm not really that smart yet.
You're still not that smart.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I really wasn't smart to the business really so much. I really wasn't. And he thought I was he thought that I was a lot better worker than I actually was, because my interviews were good and my gear was good. And, so when I got in there, I really didn't know what the hell I was doing. And he pretty much ate me up. But he did this thing. He did this thing, bro, where he spun around and put his crotch on my face. And that's where I kicked out, pulled him outside. So we start fighting. We go back into the locker room. The guys pull us apart. And, I'm like, hey, fuck this. I'm not going to have this guy do this to me, right? So then all of a sudden, what happens is I told him, I said, there was all these guys standing around, and I go, hey, you here with all your friends? I said, that's okay. I'm going to see you again with my friends. So I don't say nothing to nobody. We're at ECW the next month, and Muraco and Jimmy are booked together, but Don's on both shows. Jimmy was just on two because that's just how it worked out. Because Don was in for the weekend. Don did a Sunday as well, and I was taking him there, but we all were together. And so Jimmy goes, brother, man, I don't go to shows I'm not booked on. I was like, well, just hang out in the car in the back, and I'll come out. I'll bring you food and stuff, and I'll just hang out with you, and then I'll go in and work with him, and I'll come back out. I'll shower at the hotel. I don't have to, do whatever. He said, no, it's okay. I want to watch. So he sneaks in the building through the back, and he's sitting in the back of the building, and Ian Rotten sees Jimmy, and he's not booked on the show. And Muraco is booked on the show. And Jimmy's in the locker room, and the word gets around, and Ian Rotten thinks that Jimmy and Don are there to wipe him and all his friends out. He comes running up to me, Maniac, I'm so sorry. I didn't think that you really were friends with Jimmy and all that. And I said, brother, I told you there was going to be a toll to pay. Now you're on the toll road and you see the toll lady pulling up and it doesn't say 25 cents. I said, but I'll accept your apology. So Don and Jimmy didn't know this was going on. So I'm on first match and I'm working with Gilbert, but when he wasn't Gilbert.
Right.
Dwayne Gill. And I hit the rope. And now the ring collapsed with us.
No, it didn't. Did it really?
We almost got posted, both of us, by the poles.
Oh my God!
Holy shit!
If he didn't push me out of the center, I would have been killed for sure. I would have got hit with 4 pipes.
Wow!
He shoved me out of the center, and he jumped out. But by then, the ring had collapsed. So while they're putting it all together, this is when this happens. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I was like, it's all right. Just as long as you understand that. Don't ever do it again because I'll just let the dogs out and then you're done.
Oh, shit.
He was like, but those guys didn't know shit. And I never told them. All those years later, I never told them. It wasn't a topic of conversation. But I will tell you a story I really haven't shared with anyone that's really cool.
Go ahead.
I'm still green yet. I'm in ECW, and they're starting to expand. And, what's his name? Gilbert's came in before. This is before Paul E. came in with his big mouth. And Paul Heyman stinking up the room. So, oh, man, I never see the guys just mess up so many people. Just, helped a lot of people, hurt a lot of people.
So
wait. Let's tell you the story.
When you got the paycheck, did it bounce? Because Shane Douglas.
No. By then, Jimmy had left. That was later, bro. That was later. Let me tell you the story. So what happens is, Todd Gordon and Eddie Gilbert are running the TV. Yes. And what happened was we finished working and we're going back to the Marriott, and Muraco and Jimmy were talking, and I guess they never really had a conversation about their match together in the garden, in the cage. I think they just both just blew it off as being great, and they knew it, and they didn't really need to talk about it. And
Right.
the babies and the heels were all separate, so they really didn't have an opportunity to really chat back then. And by this point, the business had changed. The baby faces are riding with the heels. So what happens is Jimmy's in the back seat. I'm driving. It's a two-part story, and it's very cool and it's very funny. So, so the first thing is the cool part, and that's so Morocco, as we're driving towards the highway from the building, we stop for the Gino cheesesteaks. I get him, I bring him there. We're driving towards 95, and he looks back at Jimmy. He said, "Hey, brother, we never talked really about that match, because we were always busy and on the road and different crews and this and that. We never really had that opportunity to really talk." He said, "I got to tell you, man, the timing of that match was just so perfect." He said, "You were just, incredible." I said, "Hey, brother, man, you caught me. You caught me. Otherwise, I couldn't do it, We did it together." And Vince Sr. was still alive yet. And he was asking, Jimmy, who you want to work with next. But Junior, the father now, didn't know it was moving into another direction altogether with Hulk Hogan. But at that point, Hulk Hogan had come over and he was in tag matches with Jimmy against Muraco and Orton, like the one in the Boston Gardens.
Right,
And
right.
and you can see that where, Jimmy gets caught by Muraco midair, staggers back, and then Orton hits Jimmy. Jimmy goes down, does the blade. Hulk Hogan does the thing, boom, boom, bang, bang, boom, flex, flex, pop, pop. Then there's Jimmy on the top rope just gushing. People were watching Hogan, and then he didn't see Jimmy pulling the magic, and he just appears on the thing, flies off the top, boom, patch them 1, 2, 3. They get out of there. What a great night, right? So they're talking. I'm listening to these two guys talk about the match, and it was wonderful to hear because I was there watching this match, and now they're having the only conversation they had about that match. They never had one after, and they sure as hell didn't have one before, which I thought was just the coolest thing to have had the opportunity to hear
I
what.
was just going to say, to listen to them talk about that
Yeah,
greatest match
and then
ever lived, basically.
so now at this point, I'm enamored with this conversation, and I'm a mark for the idea. I'm not freaked out that I'm with them too because I'm
Hello,
comfortable
Mark.
with them at this part. At this point, I'm comfortable with them. They didn't make me feel like I wasn't one of the boys. They made me feel comfortable. So I was driving. So I made a wrong turn and I got committed to go all the way over the bridge, to go all the way down to the first exit and make a U-turn, come back, take the exit, get off, and make an illegal U-turn to get back on to get onto 95 in the correct direction. So we get to the point where I made the mistake and I made it again.
Oh,
And
no, you didn't.
I'm mortified.
You made it twice.
Jimmy's in the back. He's not saying nothing. And Morocco's like, "Yeah, go ahead. No problem. Just go the wrong way. Don't worry about it. We ain't going to go." We got beer. We got food. So those guys were eating and drinking
He's
and
like,
just
yeah, take
watching
your
me
time,
drive
don't worry.
around. They're watching me drive around. I did it once, and then I did it again. So I come back to the third time, and I'm about to do it again. And Jimmy goes, "No, no, brother, the other way." So I go the right way. And Muraco turns around and he goes just like this. Watch, he goes. why did you tell him? He was going to drive all the way down there and back again. Well, I want to go take a shower.
You see, Dom,
So you have
every time
to
doing that.
this room already, man. He said,
No, brother.
Rocco was like,
Just let him go, brother.
why did you tell him? He would have done it again. And so that was a fun day, you know, that Muraco made fun of me, and you know, it was funny, and you know.
Funny.
Ladies and gentlemen, right behind me are looking at the Kualoa Mountains of the Hawaiian Islands right there. A very famous place. You know, like we talked about, you know, Hawaii's big and famous for a lot of things. One of them was Chief Peter Maviet and pro wrestling, but one of them was Elvis. And Elvis loved this place.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Steph. So I know from personal experience, because you've been on cards with me when I was on cards. So when they booked Jimmy, did they book you too?
Absolutely. He wouldn't go anywhere without me because he told him, hey, I'm not leaving him home. If you want me, me to go overseas, no problem. You got to take this kid. He's got a great picture and he's got a good look. But, you know, at the same time, don't forget, when Paul came in to ECW is when Jimmy sent me to England.
Right.
So Jimmy sent me to England and to hurry up and catch up, because 2 times a week wasn't enough. Those guys worked 7 shows in 5 days.
Right.
Sometimes 9 shows in 7 days, you know, depending on the week. And so, when I came back and I saw what was happening with Paul, and then Jimmy wanted to write a book back then, and I knew a guy who was an entertainment attorney, but he also was a creative writer, and he wanted to do a book about Jimmy. So when Jimmy, you know, he wasn't great with English. He really wasn't. I mean, look at it. Listen to his, you know, you listen to his interviews. He really, you know what I mean? His body spoke for himself, you know?
Right.
So he was saying to like Todd, he was proud to say, oh, hey, he's my lawyer. Well, those guys bugged out. And the next thing you know, Jimmy didn't like what he was hearing. And he goes, bro, let's just go. And so he told me, never book me over here again. And I was like, oh. Right. So I turned around when they got in the car. So I'll be right back. I went back in there and I told them both, hey, I don't know what the hell happened, but I sure want you to know I have nothing to do with any of this. None of this is me or my idea. So just letting you know, don't hold it against me. But sure enough, you know, Todd Gordon didn't like me for that. And didn't, you know, and I don't know. I mean, Jimmy wasn't trying to hurt anybody. He was just trying to like put the guy over. It's, oh, he's my lawyer.
Right.
Oh, that was a bad move. I was like, bro, why'd you tell him that? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, bro, you're talking to people that, you know, the last thing they want to do is deal with lawyers.
Right.
You could be citing the book. I said, they don't know that. You never got another word out. From then on, it was an argument. I was like, I never seen anything fall apart so quick in my life. You're always telling me to be chill out. You know, you from New Jersey. I was like, you should have let me introduce the guy as a friend of ours that from the entertainment business. You know, he's an entertainment attorney, but he's really a book writer, and he wants to do a book about Jimmy. And he wants to fold ECW into the fold. And that was the idea. That was going to be like Jimmy's swan song. You know?
So did that book ever come out?
Well, sure. That's the book that I look. I never heard about the lady. I never heard about the lady until the guy starts talking about it. And I said, excuse me for a minute. I said to Jimmy, can I talk to you for a minute? He goes, sure. He didn't know why I was doing that. And the guy didn't really know why either. So I took Jimmy out of the room and I said, listen, bro, I don't know anything about this. So that's first. I said, whoa, sorry. That's first. I don't know anything about this. And second, it doesn't sound like something you want to talk about. But I don't know about it. I need to read about it. I need to see what other people know about it. And I don't want you to say a word to me because I don't want to know anything from you at all. Well, why not? I said, because it doesn't work that way. I don't want to hear anything. Let me read what was said. That's it. Don't tell me anything, please. And so I went and read. I drove to Pennsylvania. They didn't have the internet like that. I drove to Pennsylvania to the public library. And then I looked at microfiche. And sure enough, I saw newspaper articles and I read them. And it sounded to me like, it was, nobody was ever, charged with anything. No one, it wasn't deemed a issue or a problem, or it was never a mention in there other than about the lady or whatever happened to her. I don't know. And then I said to him, listen, I said, I don't want to get involved in anything to do with that. I was like, so if you don't mind, Jimmy's career is pretty straightforward as far as, like what the wow factor.
Right.
So let's just stick to stuff that's, oh, but this is the kind of thing that sells books, is controversial. I said, yeah, but he was a lawyer, but he wasn't that kind of lawyer. He knows about
and people have a way of
he knew
twisting
about
words when they're on paper.
he knew about laws that do with record contracts, and things like that. He wasn't being a lawyer like that is being a lawyer for a lawyer that deals with property law. They're not criminal people. They don't know those, and I don't know anything about anything. So I'm just like, listen, we're not doing that. And this is going to be about his life, and that's it. But the guy wanted that, and I said, I'm sorry, we can't talk about anything like that. It's not something we want to talk about, because Jimmy has so many great stories, and different people that he had worked with and places in his whole life. I mean, from when he was in the Marshallines, the Marshall Islands, all the way to Hawaii, was almost became a New York Yankee, and then and then he got into pro wrestling through Johnny Barrett, and was gonna go to the Universe and go against Arnold and Lou Ferrigno, and he was this close to being a Yankee, and then the one guy who had a team down here screwed Jimmy over. Otherwise, he'd have made the Yankees. So, because he was a hell of a ball player.
Right.
So, the only guy ever to hit a ball out of the Aloha Stadium, and that's where they have the Pro Bowl, so a big stadium.
Yeah, huge.
Out of the stadium. Goodbye. So, I just, and then I just put the squash on that book, and we just kept working for the longest time. But then when they started to do the book again, I never knew about it. They told me about it because I had already put the smash on in '96. And said, no, we're not doing that. So they did it, and the next thing you know, I don't really know exactly what happened, other than, I saw, the news, and I called him up. I'm like, bro, man, what's going on? He goes, oh, we can't talk about it, but, you see what's in the newspaper, and that's what's happening. So I'm like, oh, man, I never said you should have listened to me, but I never just...
Right, because at that point it was more of he needed a friend rather than somebody to tell him.
Yeah, we would just talk on the phone, and we would talk about this match in St. Louis that we had, and it's on YouTube under 808 Metal Maniac. I think I sent you this one match.
Yeah,
you did.
And if you look at that match, there's no talking on the microphone. There's none of that. It was just actual work. He's letting me lead. He's letting me lead, and I'm calling, and I'm not doing the monkey's uncle thing like Don Muraco said, the monkey. Boop-doop. He didn't. I wasn't doing that. I was just winging it, and he was listening, and he was doing everything with me.
So
and he let me call it.
about time for us to sign off.
Okay.
If you want to, yeah, we'll do a part two and continue if you want to.
I gotta
Yes,
jump off.
absolutely. I have to run down the hall, but this is the end of part one. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a whole lot of stuff we haven't even begun to touch on. So stay tuned. It's going to be up next week. And remember, the Metal Maniac can show up anytime, anywhere. So be aware.
My man.
Metal Maniac.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us, giving our veterans a voice.